other side. Just mess with them. It's just like, where the fuck were you people at opening ceremonies?
Yeah, pretty much. That is like the whole.
Is that like a Twitter or a Telegram group, or they just made like a flash mob for this thing? It's like, okay, Hearthstone's going to come up. It's going to be this. This is what we're all going to do. Just nudge people to your left and get everybody going with it.
Hashtag choose the other door.
It's always the other door.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
And there's our Monty Python tag for the show. Good one, sir. Good. Even I didn't expect them that time. So
I was sitting there, it's like, how can I move this joke in? How I crowbarred that fucking joke in, and it worked.
Well, you know, this is almost as bad as when my chair reset and we spent like 5 minutes laughing. Red light, green light, red light, green light. Okay, yeah, I'm for that, so.
Shikaka! Shikaka! Okay, I'm back now.
And
okay.
If anybody ever wonders why we've never set up a Patreon, do you think anybody in their right mind would pay for this?
I have a Patreon. No one pays me for it, obviously. But
okay, they do pay for the Dragot show, so
true.
Yeah,
true
maybe
true.
we need to promote. Hi, Alkali. Hello.
But okay, so I think all we have left at this point is World of Warcraft.
Okay, we'll be done at about 5 in the morning.
Pretty much. Because
my neighbors say, hey, dude, it's 3 in the morning. Shut up.
Well, I've got to work tonight, so
yeah.
So
well, it's it's almost 5 there.
It's almost 6
there.
Yeah,
I can do math.
I got to leave in like 3 hours. I can get like an hour and a half more of sleep.
We'll keep you up all time.
No, that's expecting if we keep this running till 7 my time. So for another hour.
Okay.
Anyways.
Well.
But okay, so World of Warcraft. I've said so much about it. This is kind of his turn to vent out.
Yeah, well, the outs. I was watching Nobel. We've talked about Nobel before.
Yeah.
He has done a couple of Let's Plays, or not Let's Plays, responses to this. And the first one was on the trailers, and the trailers, both of them, the Jaina-centric one and the Sylvanas-centric one, were both very well done. But it's one of those things, it's like, Yahtzee and Jim Sterling both say this. It's kind of like BioWare being good at writing. They don't get credit for that anymore. So as much as I love the Blizzard cinematics, y'all don't get credit for that anymore. We know your cinematics are good. You prove it to... Why the fuck you're not a movie company, I don't know. But the cinematics are always good.
I said this, and this applies to all the cinematics. This applies for the Heroes of the Storm. This applies to the StarCraft cinematics. This applies to the Overwatch cinematics. This applies to World of Warcraft. This applies to Diablo. They need to make their own fucking shows and movies at this point, because holy crap.
With the way it's, even if you look at if we look at Sylvanas, from the way she started in the what was the first cinematic she was in? It was after a few expansions because
Wrath
she wasn't.
King.
Yeah, if you look at a Wrath of the
yeah.
Even if you look at the Battle for Azeroth trailer as opposed to the Legion trailer, which she looked gorgeous in the Legion trailer.
She looked,
compared to...
Okay, I'm going to say this. In the Legion trailer, she didn't look like a human or an elf. She looked fucked
almost
up.
Almost like a wraith.
Yeah, and it didn't look right to me. With the Battle for Azeroth trailer, one, she looks more elf-like.
She looks more human, or humanoid anyway.
Yeah, she looks more hominid, but she looks more like a elf, an undead elf, at least to me, and a little more closer to her in-game model, which I deeply appreciate, because
oh yeah,
that was one thing that really kind of bugged the hell out of me for the Legion trailer, was she looked weird. She was gorgeous. I mean, it was gorgeous animation, but she looked weird.
Let's take what is probably one of the ultimate cinematics for her, Vol'jin.
Yes.
Vol'jin's death. If you look at the different and the Sylvanas you're going to see in there is what he and I always see when we're playing the game. That is Sylvanas's in-game cinematic character. If you compare that to the character in The Broken Shore, you would swear to God there's 10 years worth of difference in technology, even though the last cinematic was made, not even 2 years ago.
Yeah,
there is that much difference. They actually look like if you reached out and touched her, you would feel skin.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Blizz one, where she's too smooth.
Yeah.
She actually looks like she has, instead of
skin
a character.
And textures and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that's taking the hyper real. I mean, they have almost legitimately crossed the uncanny valley barrier into.
With Sylvanas, they pretty much did.
There's
still even Greymane.
Yeah,
Greymane was amazing.
He looked pettibly soft. He would eat your fucking face, but he looked pettibly soft, and
that'd be worth it.
But they have...
Hey, just to say that you reached up and petted Greymane, you would have bragging rights for at least part of eternity.
Get him right behind the ear, see if he starts bouncing his leg.
Oh man, if he did that, your death would be glorious.
This big fearsome leader rendered down to a helpless puppy. Worth it!
Yes. Can you imagine what
Shikaka.
Well, we have a title for the episode now.
No, we can't do this again. Not in this episode. We can't do this again. Control yourself. Composure.
Right.
Composure.
This is on you this time.
Composure.
I was thinking, could you imagine if the Valkyr who is at the graveyard had ended up doing like a St. Peter thing? It's like, oh, why are you here? Can you imagine the look? I mean, they don't even really have a face, but you would actually be able to see their face contort enough trying to figure out why they're looking at somebody who thought it would be a good idea to give ear scritches to the consul for the Alliance leader.
Worth it.
You might actually get a high five from a Valkyr for that one.
A spirit healer or a Valkyr might actually just resurrect you with no res sickness.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, dude? No summoning sickness. I can't.
You know what? This is a freebie. Yeah, you may have had one before, but this is another freebie. Take it. Worth it. But anyways, we've gone into,
and there's the furry tag again. So
we've gone into a whole weird territory here now.
It's us. We do this every week.
True.
It shouldn't come as a shock.
Speaking of furries, my dog's staring at me like I'm retarded right now. What, you want ear scritches too, motherfucker? I threatened scritching a dog, a giant man dog behind the ear, and you want love? Go fuck yourself.
You're making him jealous. Have you been stepping out on me with other dogs?
Anyways. So, the cinematic was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, just absolutely gorgeous. I gotta say, the literally, they have crossed Uncanny Valley with the animation and with the work. Whoever is the cinematic team, like, however much they're making, they need to make more. Not, like, money-wise. Because
actually, after that reception, it's like, okay, guys, take a week off.
You guys get a month vacation. You're good to go.
Yep.
Because holy crap. And you know, since pretty much they started, since Legion launched, they've been working on that video. They probably got it done last week, but then they're like, alright, it's ready to ship now. Let's see it. Click. Face melts like the Nazis in the Last Crusade.
So if you're wondering where all of those job openings from Blizzard came from, yeah, you can probably thank the cinematic.
Mm-hmm. But the cinematic was gorgeous. The War for Azeroth. Now I love how like building up to the whole announcement was, everyone was sitting there going, oh, it's going to be old gods and this and that. We knew the Tiras was going to appear. We knew that.
Yep.
That was confirmed a while ago, pretty much. But we didn't know what was going to happen.
We even knew, and I was talking to you about this, that WoW had data mined 4 of the...
Yeah, the sub-races.
The thing was, they didn't know they didn't know they were sub-races. What they thought they were going to be were alternate skins. Like if you had a Tauren, you could have a skin of a High Mountain Tauren.
Yeah.
They knew there were going to be... What are the
Void Elves? Nightborn.
We knew there was going to be the Nightborn. We knew there would be the High Mountain. We knew there would be the Light Warden, and we knew there would be the Void. Those 4 we knew. The Dark Iron Dwarves and the Zandalari, we didn't
left field.
Because they were left field because they have been in the game since vanilla.
Yeah.
They weren't new data mine skins because they had always been
Yeah, they
there.
were already in the game, so it's like, oh. And
so it was easy to sneak those 2 in because who could have seen it?
Mm-hmm. And
they update character models and up all the time anyway, so nobody would have looked at that.
And I loved how, like, during the deep dive and the dev stuff, they even talked about, they made jokes about data mining.
Oh yeah, I caught a couple of those. That was fun.
They made the jokes about data mining leaks and whatnot, and like, oh well, it's like, and they completely made the jokes and made it beautiful. So it's like, okay, so they are cognizant of their own shit then. Okay, and that was always nice. You had a problem though. You had a problem, and this is a perfect time to bring this up.
Well, I have 2, but the main one, which they repeat, and this is the other reason I didn't want the Q&A, because I knew it would come up eventually, and I would probably put my fist through the monitor, is... And this is something, again, that Nobel I was watching, and this is something he was completely boggled by. In fact, he had the same reaction we did. He's not overly thrilled for this new expansion. And the reason why is what he calls reverse mists.
Yeah.
In Mists, we went in and we were fighting a big baddie, and then it turned into a faction war.
Yeah.
What he thinks will happen is we're going to start with the faction war,
and then go into a big baddie.
Then it'll go into the Ashara, who's been confirmed, and the old. Well, we know if it's going to be Ashara, it'll be the old gods because she's always worshipped them. So we know we'll at least get something with them.
Yeah.
But the thing that got me and Nobel was. And for him, it was, well, actually, he did mention this in his opening thing, too, is Alliance, don't forget the broken shore.
Yes. And this...
And they said it at the What's New, too. It's like,
and they brought this up.
Yeah. I can see it. But it's almost like they're trying to force it down people's throats that the broken shore wasn't anything other than the Alliance
being betrayed by the Horde.
editor.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was, who was I talking about? I was talking to somebody on my Facebook wall. I said, when I started as Alliance because that's my main. My mains are Alliance. It wasn't until I ran probably Sylvestria that I saw the Horde one. And then
you got the whole story.
The problem. Well, no, then I saw the problem because I had already gone into Stormheim and it's like, what are these two arguing about? That's when if you look up, first of all, and watch the Horde Broken Shore cinematic. I don't care if you've never played Horde in your life. In fact, if you haven't, you have more reason to do it than anybody else. Because if you watch the Alliance, when they look up, I likened it to a coffee break.
Yeah.
If you look up at the Dark Rangers, who in the Horde cinematic have been shooting and firing the whole time and ran down the hill to get away, it's like they were standing at a stoplight.
Yeah.
Their bows were down. They weren't shit. They were just standing there. It's like I said, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go to the cafe. Are you going to get a spiced latte today? Oh, actually, the donuts look delicious. There was no urgency. They turned, bows down, didn't look like they were even fighting, and walked off the ledge. AKA, we had a lazy fucking animator who didn't want to apparently animate Dark Rangers running down a hill.
Or even firing at something as they ran down a hill.
It's like...
At least to give an illusion of something was going on.
Of all the things I've seen in Warcraft, that might be the most glaring thing in all. And like I said, I've been playing since Warcraft 2, almost 20 years ago. That may be the stupidest thing Blizzard has ever let stay in a game, because it divided the community in a way that it never should have.
For literally no reason. And it's something. And
it's just to fan the Alliance versus Horde, and there's literally other.
Yeah,
it's lazy.
And that is one point. That is one point that drives me up the wall. Is they even said this, the betrayal of the Alliance at the Broken Shore.
Yes.
It's like, no.
Or the betrayal of the Horde. But they said it in What's Next and they said it
during opening ceremony. And that is something that pisses me off to no end. It's like the Horde did not betray the Alliance. They had their own, the demons were coming up on them. They were forced to flee. The Horde forces were broken. Vol'jin was dying. Karn was down.
Thrall was down. Lorthamartheron lost an eye.
Yeah. I mean, so all the major leaders were down and injured, and they were forced to fall back. And that is what that carrion horn was for the Valkyrie to come in and save their asses. And
the other thing is, Sylvanas was ordered by Horde War Chief to retreat.
And that's something that pisses me off to no end. Is at no point has no one sat there and said, and as you love point, and this is perfect. This is perfect from Doctor Who. Is why have they not sat down to talk?
Yes, I shared that the night on Friday night. Somebody shared Peter Capaldi's. It was just a clip of it, but if it was just one of those things, it's like the cosmos aligned just to put that in my feed at the exact time that I would probably put it. It's like I will give this to Jaina, because I said I did one called World of Warcraft for fuck's sake was the name of the podcast, and I will say this now, up until when I saw that, I hadn't seen Jaina's cinematic. All I had done is talk to you and seen the Lordaeron cinematic. So that's all I was going on. So don't, go listen to that and feel free to say to me whatever the hell you want. But what we're talking about now is after I've actually seen the panels.
Yeah.
I will say both Jaina and Sylvanas, if you listen to them, sound like they both know that this is wrong, but they both don't know how to stop it.
Yeah.
They both know this is not what should be happening. So I'm thinking maybe Sylvanas and Jaina might end up being part of the catalyst that actually kicked, because, and I'll just throw this out here. The great arbiter, Khadgar, is rather notorious by his absence in these cinematics. With given Warlords of Draenor and Legion, him being a linchpin in both of them, for him not to be featured in these cinematics, it's kind of, if anybody's going to be trying to hold the Alliance and Horde together, it would be Khadgar. So I'm wondering What's going to be up with him? He should be the one telling them, yo, look, you can beat the snot of each other later. Our world is literally dying here.
Yeah. Well, and that's
go play that later.
And that's another point that they're, kind of hammering real hard is the Horde and Alliance are tearing at each other. But at the same time, Magni Bronzebeard is, grabbing adventurers going, you need to listen to Azeroth. She is dying. No matter who wins, if we don't fix this, you're going to inherit a dead Earth or a dead planet. I'm going
okay, this is a prediction. It'll probably not come true. I'm going to guess that because the Horde and Alliance, and by Horde and Alliance, I'm going to say the wacky Worgen Greymane, who's been drinking a little bit too much of the Blizzard Punch lately, is going, we will fight up until our world is dead. They just will not stop. The amulets, because we've been collecting Azurite.
Yep.
Not the most fairly generic name for what it, but it is a kind of a mystical name too. I found myself liking that. I'm going to bet that those amulets, the combined power of all the Azurite from all the champions, is what's going to save the ass of a planet. Because the leaders just don't care. It's going to be the heroes uniting, like, Deathwing. Anybody remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The only, when the Horde and Alliance perished, the only time we've seen them acting together in a cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be that saves Azeroth, wakes up, or hopefully we will have killed Greymane, will wake up the leaders like, we've been pawns of the old gods all this time.
Yeah.
And then Ashara and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
storyline.
I was fit to be tied. The first time, hey, it's opening, but when they did it in the next up, it's like, Blizzard, you were losing me on Friday. Like I said, I agree with
and this kind of be kind of a change around because what was it? I think Legion, you were excited for the storyline, but gameplay wise, you were kind of like meh. And then it's grown on you gameplay wise. For the Battle for Azeroth, gameplay wise, there's a lot of great stuff, but the main story about the war between the Horde and Alliance, I'm not exactly enthralled by that because it's stressing points that are flimsy. If you have played Horde, if you've played all the way through, even with Khadgar, sitting there talking over your shoulder throughout the whole goddamn game, you get the point that there are greater threats to the world as a whole. We learn that the Legion, leaves a fatal strike to Azeroth herself. At the end of before the next expansion comes out, that she's bleeding out and she's dying. That we need to save her. Why is that not the storyline?
Because Greymane has taken up the role of Onyxia from Classic, and he's the one whispering in Anduin's ear. And I will give Greymane credit. When I played Worgen for the first time and met MVP of Gneas in Grandma Wall, one of the best characters ever written into World of Warcraft. If you haven't played Alliance, roll up a Worgen. You don't have to go all the way through it. Just get to Grandma Wall. You can stop at that point, but you have to experience Grandma Wall. But with the thing is, I totally agree with him in Liam's death. But you know what? That's a different Sylvanas, number one. That was a time of war, number two. He can go after Sylvanas until Azeroth and the Cosmos dies for Liam. That's fine. But he needs to get over Varian. But he is the only one in that game that has such a hard-on for Varian.
And that brings me to the next point: is Anduin. He is trained as a priest. He has worked with the Tauren. He has worked with the Druids. He has worked with the Holy Light. Yes, he is angry about his father's death, but there are greater threats. Why is he leading the charge on the sacking of Undercity? That's my question. Why is he on the battlefield leading a charge in full armor, in full lion-hearted armor, to sack the Undercity. Oh, wait, and then you see Greymane off to the side. It's like, Greymane is using Anduin as a pawn.
The 3 lies will be filtered through Greymane, I'm almost certain.
Yeah.
But going back to Nobel, when I saw him, if you haven't heard of Nobel, I do recommend, I think it's Nobel 86 or something.
Noebbel.
But he was watching the Lordaeron cinematic. I think actually Trey Chat mentioned this too when she watched it, is that, well, I know Nobel did, when he saw Anduin pick up a sword, his first thought was, "You're a priest, when did you start fighting?" It's like, and so, yeah. seeing Anduin like that, and okay, point 5, Anduin made peace with his dad on the burning shore.
Yeah.
So it isn't Anduin that's this revenge thing. He's made peace with his father. It's Greymane. The other thing was, like you and I were talking, Nobel himself is biracial. He plays Horde, he plays Alliance. He has no favorites. So he, like us, has seen, well, I don't know if you've played the Alliance. No, you don't play Alliance. I don't but you've seen the you've seen the
I at least search it out. You know.
So he's seen both sides, and the thing I kept hearing from is the same thing I was saying to you. Why is this still a race war? Why is this still a faction war? We should be over this by now.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is that the light and apparently the Titans were back, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But apparently Azeroth is so nakedly exposed right now. The old gods basically rule it now, is what I'm going to say. And the world has gone so nuts.
And this kind of goes back to a point I made not too long ago.
They have no protection from them.
And this kind of goes back to a point I made not too long ago. When you look at how Xeris was acting, and you have completely frozen up. Okay, there you're back now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. But if you look at how Xeris was acting with Illidan, the Naaru and their void forms. The Naaru are old gods. They are old gods of the light. And then you look at Anduin on the battlefield, leading the charge with Greymane whispering in his ear.
Well, and like anybody can say, well, he was using this. Did you not get from that Naaru that the light can be used for evil as much as it can be for good? He is a wielder of it. That doesn't mean it is a holy purpose. He is using it to heal his troops.
Yeah, look at the Scarlet Crusade before they, were corrupted by the Burning Legion. They were still using the light for horrible purposes.
Scarlet Crusade pretty much nullifies any human.
Yeah.
Benedictus.
Yes.
From Cataclysm.
He was a priest, yeah.
He was the Bishop of Stormwind, and he was one of the main betrayers.
Oh, wait. He was empowered by the old gods, and he was still able to use the light. The Naaru are nothing but light-sided old gods. That's all they are. And and I think a lot, and we may still get this out of the next expansion pack, is we may still get our old god expansion pack. What we're going to find out is, N'Zoth is churning up and, causing his problems because we get Yashara. But at the same time, we're going to get, proof that the Naaru are nothing but light-sided old gods. That is why they oppose the void so much, because that is their eventual fate, or that is what they broke themselves away from. And
as much as I love Valen, I've always said if I had to pick leaders, it would be Sylvanas for the Horde and Valen for the Alliance. But it really got proven. When was it? It was during the McCree storyline, when Tyrion was talking about how could the Naaru
Turalian,
go
yeah.
to the dark. And all Valen said is there was much she didn't want you to know.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that Valen, at this, probably for quite a long time, has known that what you said, that the Naaru are light.
Yeah, light-sided
But they
old gods.
might not necessarily follow what some to believe to be the light.
Yeah.
So...
And that kind of, and with what we see with the Battle for Azeroth or War for Azeroth or whatever the fuck the official title is going to be, what we might see is we actually get to see an interesting battle of the light versus the dark. You know, two sides of the old god factions, basically, because
I think it will surprise people which way that ends up being.
Because, I mean, when you look
I
at
can't
it...
see the alliance being, because I've read a couple of interesting theories on what may or may not happen at Teldrassil, for example.
Well, and because look at who's joining the alliance: the Void Elves and the Light Forged Draenei.
Seems a bit unfair, isn't it? It's like walking into, ancient Rome with the rocket launcher.
But hang on, and then you have the Dark Iron Dwarves. The Dark Iron Dwarves were enslaved by Ragnaros, old god servant. The Void Elves draw power from the Void where the old gods are. The Light Forged Draenei. If my theory about the, Naaru being light-sided old gods is true, they have three subraces that draw power from the old gods. What are the Horde getting? The Zandalari, which gets their power from, from nature gods, from gods of Azeroth, from Loa, from ancient spirits. You get the High Mountain Tauren, that get their power from the earth and the ancient spirits of Azeroth. And then they're getting the Nightborn, which drew all of their power from the blood and energy of Azeroth. Do you see?
When you look at it like that, when you look at it like that, it's going to be really tough for the Alliance to call themselves the good team. I'm sorry.
When they've got three races that that drew strength or listen to or follow old gods indirectly or directly, whereas the Horde draw all of their their newest members, gain all their power from Azeroth in one form or another. It's kind of and I'm not sure if Blizzard purposely did this or if that is something they did by design. If it is something they did by design, it's very subtle. And I love how we've gone from talking about BlizzCon into this whole theory crafting weirdness. When we were
but if we're going to do it, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
One thing I read, I was reading some of the comments under the. I don't know if it was I don't think it was Trade Chat. I think it was Noble talking about the trailers, and they were talking about who set Teldrassil on fire.
Yeah, and that's an interesting part because they talked about that during the deep dive, and they kind of danced around it with the opening ceremony stuff. But they flat said, that is part of a turning point. Is one event leads to the other. Is the burning of Teldrassil which leads to the siege of Undercity? Or is the siege of Undercity that leads to the burning of Teldrassil? What's probably going to happen is Teldrassil is going to lead to the Undercity. Because that is what would prompt Anduin to be at the front lines leading the charge. But my question is, was it actually the Horde that burned Teldrassil?
Yes. One of the thoughts
I could see Gen Greymane burning it down. Because that is where the Worgen are based.
That is exactly what somebody said. They said, after Gilneas, the Worgen were housed in Teldrassil. Mm-hmm. Maybe they started it. And before any Alliance people start going, do you all remember somebody called Staghelm?
Mm-hmm.
We had a political war in Teldrassil for the first 3 expansions. It's not like Teldrassil is immune to mutinous behavior.
Well, and
they've been through it before.
And it's still corrupted by the old gods slightly.
So...
So
I could see Jen trying to push Anduin to do something, getting frustrated because, like we said, Anduin has made peace with his father. Anduin is trying to do good by people. If Nobel's right, and Anduin is the conduct of the three lies, I don't think they will come from Greymane and go through him.
Yeah.
I don't see Anduin deliberately doing it. But I could see Greymane getting so frustrated. Again, for his son, perfectly understandable.
Yeah, and that's...
But for this bullshit about the coffee break Dark Elves...
Yeah.
Or Dark
and
Rangers...
the betrayal of the Horde.
The fact that... And this is the one thing that spoiled Stormheim for me. Granted, it's not my favorite zone to go in. Because it's the most racial of the zones.
Yeah.
But I was good on it until at the final fight he said for Varian.
Yeah.
Everything up until that point, if they would have left out Varian, would have been a great end to a great story. Mm-hmm. But they had to put him in. It's like, but
yeah.
But what? But would you? Because here's the thing. Okay, Alliance, if you're listening, hey, yay, trade Varian. Okay, dipshits, listen up. If you are not going to watch the Horde cinematic, that's fine. I get factional pride. Good. If the Horde had not retreated, you never would have been able to evacuate. Because instead of the demons following the Horde running, they would have taken that hill, shot down your airship, and you all would have been slaughtered. And you all know it. If you don't, look up the Horde Broken Shore cinematic, educate yourself. There were 3 demon portals active. And they, aside from the Ben Kenobi joke of, hey, I have the high ground. Well, when there's an army marching up and you've got a very small
elite strike
suicide
force
squad of people versus infinitely respawning bad guys, let's hit secret high ground don't mean shit.
Yeah.
So you can claim we betrayed you all you want, but if we hadn't left, you wouldn't have been able to escape. And Varian, let's be honest, Varian was a great character, and he was not going to survive that.
No.
If the Horde weren't going to be the only ones who lost their leader.
Well, and you have to sit there and also think about the Horde took massive losses and hits. I mean, Lothramar, lost an eye. We lost Vol'jin. Bane.
We lost Thrall.
Yeah,
Thrall left after that.
Thrall left. Bane was horribly injured by it. Sylvanas was forced into the position of war chief. All this stuff happened that upset the Horde. What happened with the Alliance? They lost Varian.
And let's be honest, a lot of people, like we mentioned Stormheim, a lot of people say, well, yeah, but look at the Banshee Queen and what she... I can bet money that if Vol'jin had lived and the Banshee Queen, if they had gone in and the Banshee Queen had heard about that lantern, that story still would have played out whether she was the war chief or not.
Yeah. And the way that whole story
in Stormheim has nothing to do with Sylvanas being war chief. That was a personal story with her.
Yeah, that whole story, the way it seems, it was written without her being the war chief in mind.
Yeah,
when you look at it,
any mention of her being the war chief. Mm-hmm. It's just that the Forsaken Fleet, like, oh hey, any of y'all tadpoles remember this place called Northrend?
Yeah,
where they had the Horde had their own setup in Borean Tundra. Mm-hmm. The Forsaken were on the other side of the continent with their own base. So it's not uncommon for Sylvanas to set up a opposite base for the Forsaken, because as I said on my podcast, way back when the Forsaken
weren't trusted,
they tried to join the Alliance because they were living in Lordaeron. and they had the Alliance right below them. And the Alliance basically said, dead people have no rights. You're squatting on our land, hence why she is part of the Horde. Mm-hmm. So Alliance, if you want to blame anybody, that might be Onyxia too. Go kill Onyxia again if that makes you feel better.
No,
it's not that hard to do.
Actually, by that point, Onyxia had already fled.
No, because when World of Warcraft Vanilla started, she was still the matron to young Anduin. She didn't.
Anyways.
But we have
digressed way off track here. We have gone into theory crafting, and we were supposed to be talking about the opening ceremonies and what's next.
The second thing, and I'll make this quick. The second thing I do not like about this expansion is, for the second time, and this is the thing that I absolutely hated about Warlords of Draenor, was it's based on a book. This is based on a book again, which again with the Horde. What is the one page that they leaked? The one that makes Sylvanas look the worst.
I think
where they're talking about Nathaniel. They released a page where Nathaniel Brightcolor and Sylvanas are talking, and she says that the Horde is now ready for the fight that they've been waiting for. And the last thing you see is he doesn't need to ask, it's Stormwind. You know, the people who before World of Warcraft started told them that dead people have no rights and that they're squatting on our land, and basically shunned the Forsaken and doomed them to be Forsaken because the Alliance has the light TM. And can you imagine if they had been a part of the Alliance? They might still be undead, but they would not be in the shape they were in. They might have even been starting to work on a cure.
Yeah.
With Prophet Valen, they might have even actually found a way to restore some life to that. Instead, thanks to the Alliance, they are Forsaken. So, excuse me if Sylvanas has every right to not really didn't say she was attacking the Alliance. She doesn't have a problem with the Alliance. She has a problem with the people who turn and her people away in Stormwind.
Yeah.
There's a difference, unless, of course, the book decides, hey, yay Alliance, yay Horde. Milk that cash cow some more.
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah, and that's something that people tend to forget, that the Horde and the Alliance, yes, they have, the war chief, and they have the, leader of the Alliance, but they are their own separate kingdoms they are each both a confederation, basically.
Yeah.
They are made up of separate ruling kingdoms that just happen to band together and choose a leader to lead each. And that's a very key point. It's like when Thrall was in charge, Saurfang was also the secondary leader of the orcs, because the Thrall was the war chief. Right. But Saurfang also led the orcs in his stead. With the Alliance, it's whoever is sitting in the throne of Stormwind is the boss, and that has led to contentions with the Night Elves and with the Draenei and with others.
And let's keep in mind, the Alliance has gone through one leader.
Yeah.
Varian. Because even though Prince Anduin was on the throne in Burning Crusade and WoW, Varian was still the king. And when he came back in Lich King, he was still the king.
Yeah.
We've gone through Thrall. We've gone through Garrosh. We've gone through Vol'jin. Now we're on
Sylvanas.
4 leaders we have gone through on the Horde to the Alliance's 1.
Yeah.
And that's only because, and I know some people in the Alliance will hate me for this, the Horde leaders actually go to the battles. Sorry, but they do. When you look at these things, the Horde are fighters.
Yeah.
The Alliance on their side, and I will give them this, are tacticians. They are more thinkers. They delegate. They plan things out. The Horde, by their nature, borrowing another term from Blizzard, zerg everything. They go in en masse. But because of that, their leaders also know they are out front on the wars. Like we said, who came out the worst in the Broken Shore?
Yeah.
Did you, aside from Valen or from Varian, did any other leader suffer any kind of injury aside from Greymane, who lost what marbles he had?
Yeah.
Every single one of the whole... single one of the Horde leaders that were at the Broken Shore were affected by it. Even if it's Sylvanas, who didn't want to be in that Horde to begin with, who is now leading it.
Yeah.
If the Alliance went through half of what the Horde had gone through in the course of World of Warcraft's life, I think they would have a lot more tolerance for what the Horde is going through now.
Yeah.
Because is it any reason they're so volatile? They get shaken up. Well, they are. They're a chaotic confederation. They change. But Stormwind doesn't seem to get that just because everybody was scared of the humans and decided they should rule because, hey, they got the biggest army and they got the biggest castle. It's not exactly the best way to run things all the time. And in fact, it makes things stagnant because then you start thinking just because you've ruled so long, because nobody else wants to challenge it, that you're better.
Yeah.
Lions, you ain't better. You're just better at letting other people die. Let's put it that way.
They're the government. Anyways.
How's the campfire out at Teldrassil, by the way? I'll send you some. So you can go make some oars out there.
Yeah. Well, and one final note before we actually finish talking about the what we started.
How long have we been going?
We have been at just talking about the whole theory crafting shit for almost an hour alone. We are almost at the 2-hour marker talking. Yeah.
Oh damn! I'm not going to sleep well tonight. I'm working myself up again.
But anyways, and I want to point this out, is the Alliance just keeps adding leaders. They aren't losing leaders. The Horde...
No.
It's like, we lost Karn, and Bane had to replace him. Thrall stepped down and we got Garrosh, and then Vol'jin, and then, we've got Sylvanas. Sylvanas stepped away from the Forsaken, and they're technically being led by the Blightcaller right now.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Vol'jin died, and we don't know who's exactly leading the Dark Spears currently.
Okay, I did forget one. The Alliance did lose. The Alliance did lose Magni.
No, but
he did die, and they had to replace him.
But they gained 3 leaders out of that.
Well, but I'm still saying it was an upheaval.
Yeah.
But aside from that, there's only been 2 changes
in power.
One extremely recently in power. And technically, you could say it didn't change power because when World of Warcraft started, Anduin was the King Regent.
Yeah.
Because his father was missing. So technically.
But anyways, the Horde, Bane replaced Cairn. If we look at the orcs, Saurfang's in charge of the orcs now. After all the changes there, Dark Spirit, we don't know who's leading the Dark Spirit anymore. Period.
No,
the Blood Elves are the Blood Elves were led by Kelthus and are now led by Lorthamar.
Yeah, but they've been led by that group since Burning Crusade. Technically they did in lore, they did change up.
The goblins are ruled by Gallywix, by that weird fucking convention or whatever. But who
to his credit did show up in the Vol'jin Death Cinematic, which really surprised me because he's not a politician, so I didn't expect to see him there.
And then with the Pandaren, the Pandaren have 2 leaders, technically, one for Horde, one for Alliance, and...
Well, the Pandaren are true neutral.
Yeah.
They don't... If pandas want to go, well, Pandarian, if they want to go out in the world and make the choice, that is fine. Yeah. But once they come back to Pandaria or the Wandering Isle, there are no factions there. That's kind of like a version of Dalaran. There is no there is no division.
So the Hordes had tons of upheavals in the last few years. The Alliance suffered the loss of Varian, the regaining and the loss of Varian. Loss of Magni, but they got the Three Hammers Council.
And Magni's back now.
And Magni's back, but he's remaining neutral. They got Valen. The Night Elves got Malfurion back, so they've got 2 leaders there. So the Alliance just keeps adding leaders, but aren't really losing them, while the Horde... we are cycling through leaders because they actually...
And with Greymane, even though he lost his son, as far as I know, his wife is still alive.
Yeah.
So both members of the Royal House of Gilneas are still alive.
Yeah.
Mechatork has always been the leader of the gnomes.
Well, and then with Kul Tiras coming in, Jaina, who was the leader of Theramore... she's coming back with her mother, Catherine Proudmoore. And, the 4 houses that rule freaking Kul Tiras.
I'm actually getting away from that and going to the zones. I was telling my mom, we went to a concert last night. And I was telling my mom because she was wondering what I was doing. I was telling her about Warcraft. And she's not a gamer, but when I lived there, she liked watching the graphics. And I told her the new race is basically an Aztec race. Mm-hmm. It's a Central American themed race, which the Zandalari are really going to be fun. Well, even if you're not talking story, just the beauty of the graphics and all of that are going to be really good for these 2 new zones. Well, they look really good.
Oh yeah. Well, and though here's a note: when they introduced talking about the 4 houses of Kul Tiras, they only mentioned 3.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. Where's the 4th?
Yeah, there's Waycrest, Stormsong, and Proudmoore. Where's the 4th?
Yeah, I'm wondering about that. That's
the one. It's like they mentioned 4. They flat said 4 houses rule Kul Tiras. Where's the 4th?
Unless the 4th is under the Navy itself.
No, the Navy that's part of Stormsong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think about that much until you just mentioned it.
Yeah, and that's the point I brought up.
That's really unusual for them to say something like that.
That's a point I brought up in the other video I did. As I talked about that, is they mentioned 4 houses rule Kul Tiras, but they only brought up 3, and one of them is missing right now. The Waycrest is missing because they supply arms to Kul Tiras and the
and sausages
and fucking sausages. Yeah. Whereas on Zandalar, King Rastakhan and his daughter rule the Zandalari.
Right.
So
they inadvertently spoiled part of.
Yeah, but again, that going back to what we were talking about, Alliance gaining all these leaders and not having a lot of changeover, whereas the Horde, what we can probably see is King Rastakhan's daughter is going to usurp him, and then
I'm really surprised that they went that far with it. It's like,
but hang on. But what will probably happen with that is she'll bring the Dark Sphere back into the fold. So again, that's the only real leader change. So we lose Vol'jin, then we get King Rastakhan's daughter.
It's just like, okay, trolls, guess what? You have another base now.
Yeah, so. You're back up a leader, But you've got the 4 ruling houses. You've got Catherine Proudmoore and Jaina who rule Kol Tiras, rejoining the alliance. So they gain a bunch more leaders that are going to cause fucking problems. Whereas the Horde's got, 6 leaders, and they're sitting there going, we'll probably replace somebody here soon.
Okay, who drew the short straw this week?
Yeah. But I gotta say, you know what? Out of the two continents, and that's something that kind of surprised me, is they're introducing 2 continents. I was like, that was a change of pace.
It almost looked like the graphic, like it was one, the other, and then in the middle there was another. And so I wonder if that middle island will be the battleground.
That might be something.
Because I was looking at that, it's like, why is there? Oh well, okay. And like I said, maybe it's just the battleground. Maybe it's just there. I don't know. Maybe that's where we'll go see Ashara.
And I think this is kind of their response to people like you and me bitching about how Cataclysm, instead of having all these regions roughly together, they had them spread all over, and you had to go across here to here to here to here to here.
Well, there was so much that was good about Cataclysm. Really, the only anybody did complain about was how separate all of those were. And I know a lot of, at the time, the thing was, well, once you do it, you have a portal back, which isn't true because Ulduar never did.
Nope. Uldum,
I think the others did, but Ulduar never had a portal out.
No.
So it's when you're doing content like this, you need central hubs because people are going to get very bored. Like I said, the story for Cataclysm was really very good.
Yeah,
it just got fucked up because of having so much distance and no real fast travel system for it.
Yeah, and that kind of sucked. I mean, so having and I like the fact that everything will start unlocking at 120. You'll be able to go. If you're Horde, you'll be able to go invade Kol Tiras, and if you're Alliance, you'll be able to invade Zandalar. So that's not actually isolating it; it's just beyond the leveling experience.
I did watch, and I was very happy because I didn't catch this before. That Warfronts are going to be PvE.
Yes,
that is awesome. I love the idea of Warfronts.
And that's one thing that really excited me is like Warfronts. Like, they're bringing back the RTS aspect of Warcraft to WoW, and it's gonna be 20-man versus NPC. Basically RTS strategy fights, and that's gonna be great.
It's basically gonna be Warcraft 2 plumped into World of Warcraft. Mm-hmm. I really like. I'm going the opposite way. Well, I'm going about even with how we did with Warlords of Draenor. I despise the fact it's based on a book. And the main reason for that being because we're hopping in the DeLorean here. The only way you learned anything regarding that book is if you finally made it to level 2 of the Legendary Ring Quest, which was not easy. Yeah. And then you had follow the Yellow Brick Road for one quest.
Yeah, to find Kairos.
And that was literally the entire exposition from the book.
Yeah.
Garrosh tricked this infinite dragonflight and then murdered him. Mm-hmm. Who could have seen that coming? And that's out of all of this book, that is literally all that you get from that book.
Yeah.
I don't mind if they write books, but what they should do is write it after it and fill in some of the things. Because like I said, with the page saying, hey, Sylvanas wants to go after Stormwind. That skews people's minds to it before they go in. And then if there are people like you and me who don't have time to read it,
or don't have a bookstore anymore. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to get to read this. So unless they learn from Warlords and actually put this stuff in,
mm-hmm.
people like us are going to be crippled going into it because they are not good when they base these on books of explaining what they're doing.
Yeah.
The game is supposed to be in the game. This is an addendum to a book. We want to play the game. That's where the story should be. Hopefully they learned, and we'll see it. If not, that will be the torpedo for me if they repeat the mistake of Warlords.
Well, but at the same time, look at some of the backstory stuff for like Illidan and the Demon Hunters that they snuck into the game. Now you had to find these books that provided backstory to that would be stuff that you would expect to see in in a book in the real world. But they snuck this into like cinematics and the little lore stuff into the game. And it's like, okay, this is how you should do it right here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind what they did with. I do have a Demon Hunter. I don't think anything of Illidan. I think he's an idiot.
Yeah.
But that is how you do it. I joined in Burning Crusade, so I knew the story of the thing with Legion is if you didn't want to buy the books, that's fine. Because if you've gotten to Legion, you've already played through Burning Crusade. And as far as story-wise goes, you're caught up. You don't need a book.
And that's something that, if they take key parts out of the book and like animate them, in the motion comic and put them into the game, that's great. That's fine. That's perfect. But at the same time, the issue I have with the books, for any of the books leading up to the next expansion pack, is it will portray a character a certain way in the books that is almost diametrically opposite to how they are in game.
Oh yeah.
And with Christy Golden now working for Blizzard, maybe that will get like fixed and adjusted some, hopefully. Since she is the primary writer for all the books for World of Warcraft, that might actually, there might be better communication there. But that's been one of my biggest complaints with the books to the games, is for the books that tie into the games, there are character portrayals that are diametrically fucking opposed to how they are in-game.
And that happens a lot in cross media.
Yeah.
So. And
that didn't start until that really didn't start until Christy Golden took over the primary writing of the books, circa Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. Before that, all the material actually kind of matched up pretty well. I mean, you look at The Last Guardian. Yes, there were some liberties in there, and they've actually moved stuff that was in the books into the game, like Upside Down Karazhan, for example. And that worked across the board. Now it's kind of, but like you were talking about Sylvanas in the books, there's this key segment. Well, if they animated that bit and put it into the game, that would look horrible when you've got all this other crap in the game that says differently. It's like when you were going through Cataclysm. Garrosh, grabbed that one orc in Stone Talon Mountains and threw him off the cliffside for betraying the for betraying the ideas of the Horde. When in the books and later on in the games, that is exactly the kind of shit Garrosh was okay with. So
right.
that's something that really irks the shit out of me. Anyways, let's quit going off on theory crafting. I want to actually wrap this up because we are past 2 hours at this point, and I'm going to have to edit the fuck out of this.
I was just going to say, if they would do what they did with Illyria and whatnot, and make like an audiobook or a podcast or some little story.
Like what they did with Tyrallion and Illyria, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, if you don't want to read the book, here's the story. And listen to it that way. Might be okay, but I'm with you. If they actually, or if they do a little web series like they've done, that's fine. I just don't want the things so disconnected.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a big complaint. But Warfronts, okay, Warfronts
Warfronts are going to be fun.
Looks so much fun. That looks so great. I mean, the RTS aspect coming back to WoW finally after all these years. The island expedition things. You know what? That actually has me very intrigued.
Yeah, and they were saying a lot of people were looking at this but he's right. A roguelike would just pluck things and set them down.
Yeah.
It's nothing more than a hill that you're gradually. It just looks different every time.
Yeah.
These are all programmed. They're not just pluck. It's not that they're just plucking.
You have an island. You have.
They are plucking actual. This is less a roguelike and more a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Every page you turn, the story is there. It just changes with the coding's background things. So
yeah, and
I mean, you're talking thousands upon thousands of times you could run that and almost never see the same thing.
Even if you are running with the same two other people for those thousands of times, because of cooldowns, because of mechanics, because of whatever else, it will be dynamically different every time. It will provide a crap ton of replayability, and the fact that it comes in normal, heroic, and mythic, and PvP. That one's interesting because that opens up a whole different can of worms.
Well, they're doing PvP with Warfronts too, which is nice.
But just like the Island Expedition, so PvP, you've got 3-man teams. You could have one team of nothing but healers and another team of nothing but tanks. And they're trying to race to these bosses and fight each other at the same time. Plus, with how everything changes on the island every time. Holy crap, just the replay value alone. I might get back into PvP just with the Island Expeditions, because that could be fun. Because I play a druid, so I'm ranged, I'm a healer, I'm a tank, I'm a DPS. So depending on what I want to do at that time, or whatever I'm geared for at that time, plus whoever I'm working with, plus if we're doing PvP, whatever they have set up, and then whatever the island's going to throw at us, that is at hundreds of hours of possible replayability in 20-minute chunks, roughly.
And because they're all going to be role agnostic, you won't have queue times.
Well, and that's the thing.
It will be just like anything else. The queue times will be akin to like the Headless Horseman or something. If you may have a
like
rare
20,
day where
20, 30 seconds,
Yeah, maybe a minute or two on an off time, but at peak times, if you hit a minute, it'll be rare, and that's what you want to do with this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And that is totally awesome. It's less like the Headless Horseman; it's more like the invasion scenarios.
The invasions; those are good
because those are role agnostic when you go after the final boss and that setup. So that's
the last couple I've had are all. That took for fucking ever.
Yeah, but that's why I sit there and say, they'll take 15 to 20 minutes. I'm like, you guys haven't actually played the invasion scenarios too much, have you?
No. What was it? It was.
It doesn't matter.
The first one, the one where you go up on the tower.
Oh yeah. That one.
3 DPS. None of us could stealth. Trying to run up to break the things to knock down the shield. Then we had to run up the tower. No healing, no tank.
With things respawning
and following us up. And then we had to defeat the guy on top of the tower.
And then you had to go defeat...
That thing took 35 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Trust me.
It's just nuts.
I have been in one of those for a fucking hour before. I have gone into I've gone into bear. I've gone in as a feral druid, or rather as a guardian druid, and I'm a tank with 2 DPS, and it'll be like a rogue and a hunter, and it's like, motherfucker.
I'm hoping with this that they will make adjustments if it's going to be truly role agnostic, and saying, okay, there are no healers. Let's give them if you're out of combat for 5 seconds, you get a bonus to your regeneration. Or if you have 2 DPS and a healer, well, then the DPS
Yeah.
get an armor buff or something.
Or
maybe
the
they'll
shrines.
correct that.
You know how they were talking about the shrines will have, certain buffs and durations and whatnot.
Or like Hearthstone, if the Zerg one where there are 2 little hearts at the top of the bomb. Put some of those in there. So if you don't have a tank, you have a way to go get a quick heal.
Yeah, so it really is sad. I'm more excited for like all the expanded stuff, not the main story stuff for this next expansion, because the main story stuff is garbage. It's inciting old flames of war for no fucking reason. I mean, it's real Shikaka.
You know what I think we should do with this? I think you need to cut it off
about 5
right
minutes
before.
here.
No, cut it up in 2 chunks. One will be the opening and everything up to WoW. The second one will just be nothing but WoW.
Yeah. But
keep it all the way it is, because this is all gold. But just cut it like that.
Yeah. But the Warfronts I'm excited for. Island Expeditions I'm excited for. The allied race stuff, that's so cool, because you actually have to go through storyline stuff to unlock them. And
they're taking the Pandarian point of view with it. Because once you get through Pandaria, or at least this is what was in Mist, you're about level 20 when you decide to join the Horde.
Oh no. That's the way The way I understood it is on your main character. You do these quests for this faction, race, whatever, you're trying to unlock, the Zandalar, the Dark Iron Dwarves, whatever. You do quests for them, and then at the end of it, you unlock the ability to start a new character, or to race change. And those characters start at 20, period, in the same.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. You're basically catching it up. The first time that they did races like this with... even with the Worgen or the Goblins, by the time the 3 of these were done, you were ready for, 15, 20 on up.
Yeah.
So you're just not doing the background quests as the Lopi character. You're getting them done once, and then they're out of the way, as opposed to yet again. If you want to play Worgen or Goblin or Pandarian, you have to go through it every single time.
I don't think that's what they're doing at all. They literally said the characters, when you create them, start at 20.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, what you're saying is you create a character that starts at 1 and then you level to 20 as the starter experience.
Yes,
but there is going to be no starter experience. What
I meant was, by going through these quests as the main character, then you're getting rid of the fact that, like with new characters now, you don't have to go through that racial grind anymore, like Pandaren and the ones like that. And you're just plopping out and getting into the mix with what all the other characters do.
And they gave you incentive to level up this character from 20 to 110, and I did double check this. It said 110, that if you level up from 20 to 110, you'll get these heritage armors that are specific to these races. That becomes transmog sets for all your characters.
Somebody on one of Nobel's things tried to say that they wouldn't be transmogable for everybody. And it's like,
I think it'll be I think it'll be transmogable for your faction.
everybody in your faction.
Yeah, and that I'm okay with. If and that's fine. I'm cool with that. And then,
never mind the fact that even if you did get dark. The only race small enough on the Horde that could wear it would be the Goblin. I don't want to see a Tauren trying to wear a Dark Iron outfit. That is the stuff of nightmares.
But imagine a Dark Iron armor set on a Tauren Death Knight.
Okay, I have to give you that one. That would be interesting. Well, it would be nice
Shikaka.
That may not be the title. That's going to be the subtitle of this episode.
Yeah.
And you have to say it, because I'm getting loopy enough. I'm not even understanding what you're saying anymore.
Shikaka.
I keep on thinking that you're saying Shakira for somebody. I know you're not, but that's the only word that pops in my head when you say that. So
Right,
I don't even know
anyways.
what the hell that word is. So that shows where my mind is right now.
It's actually a joke from Ace Ventura 2.
I've
White-
never seen Ace Ventura.
Okay, good. So I don't have to.
I don't-
I'm not going to explain it. I'm not going to explain it.
I don't have that many
So-
brain cells to sacrifice.
So, and then, for your leveling experience goodness, they are also enhancing the leveling experience. And this was shit that made me, I fully admit, I had a chubby about this.
Going to 120?
No, the leveling experience that changes.
Oh, yes.
This one gave me a little bit of a chubby. I mean, I got a small mahogany, bit of redwood.
You're letting us a little bit too much on your physiology there. We know you have issues. We know you have issues. You may need some miracle grow by the sounds of it.
Anyways, but no, they talked about how they were changing the leveling experience. How basically all the what would be vanilla content, is now going to scale from 1 to 60, which awesome.
It means that you can follow things the way you want to.
You can follow the
nice.
storyline all the way through and not have to skip it because you aren't getting experience off of it anymore.
And that was the main reason they said in the what's next.
You roll up an alliance, you start in Westfall, you can follow the full Westfall story from 1 to 60. Or if you decide you don't want to level there, you want to level, say, like in Nomarang. So you go over there, you can do that, and then you decide, well, I want to go back to Westfall. You'll still be able to level up there.
Actually, and that a lot of people, and I do this, when I make a character, let's say a Pandarian or a Worgen or something like that, I always go to my factional base first.
Yeah.
Because the stories on your end are nice, but you want to go 1 to whatever through your main area, because whether it's Stormwind or Orgrimmar, those are the ones you're going to be riding at. That's what you're going to be getting flight at. You want your reputation to be exalted with those, because that's where you're going to be spending your money. And then you have to think, well, if you want to be allied with everything else, then you have to run through all their starting zones. And like we said, if you do it now, you're not getting experience. This way, you could go through all 5 of your primary races' starting zones, get all of their stories, get all of the reputations up to Exalted, and hey, maybe you'll ding 60 when you do it, but you will have constantly been getting experience, as opposed to now, where it's nice, but it's really a waste of time because you're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, and that's cool alone. But then they made expansion flexibility.
And the Death Knights actually have a reason for starting out at 55 after only 8 goddamn years. Now, when they leave Arcaris, they can actually go to where they were supposed to go, as opposed to fucking around in Outland for a while.
Outland and Burning...
Took them long enough to realize that.
Burning Crusade and Wrath of Lich King will cover the 60 to 80 experience. So you can swap...
Which again is fun, because the way you level now, if you enjoy Burning Crusade, which aside from the
Hellfire
shit we give
Peninsula,
actually does have a fairly good story to it. It's just I think when I tried it
so fast though.
I tried to do everything I could in Hellfire Peninsula, and I think I got through the Cenarian Refuge, and I couldn't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
I was already leveled up. So, yeah, even at 20 levels, I don't know if you'll need to do it all, but, you could go and do a lot more stuff.
But then, once you've got the flexibility of Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King out of the way, then you can hop over to Cataclysm or Mists of Pandaria.
And as much as I like Cataclysm,
I'll take Mists of Pandaria myself, yeah.
The one advantage to Cataclysm, though, there is a definite advantage to Cataclysm, because even though everything's separated, even though everything's separated, you don't have to buy flying.
Yeah.
You've already got flying for Cataclysm. You have to drop 1,000 in mists. Now, granted, mists, everything is interconnected, so it's easier. But again, you have 1,000 gold investment if you want to be able to really travel there. So it's a good balance. I mean, it's still a good balance. But there's some great bounce around with that. Like, unfortunately, you have to go through Warlords of Draenor. But it doesn't take long.
No,
it really doesn't take too long.
If I was given a choice between going through Warlords or Legion, I would take Legion.
Yeah.
Given a choice.
Although, okay, let's think about. We've got 0 to 60.
0 to 60 is vanilla.
60 to 80.
Yep. 80 to 90.
80 to 90. You're only going through 5 zones as opposed to 7. You're shaving off 2 possible areas. You don't.
Yeah.
And even though Warlords, again, with the story maybe not the best, gameplay was fairly decent. And if you know there's an expansion waiting for you, yeah, you can get your garrison and stuff up to level 30. But number one, you don't have to fuck around resources. Those come naturally, so it isn't as hard. And again, everything's interconnected.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think it even costs. And if you're legacied in, you don't have to worry about flying.
Yeah.
So,
and the best part of this all is this will roll out or it will start rolling out as of 7.3.5.
Yep. Well, that's a lot of the mechanics, like the AI and whatnot. But that would be nice to have.
For the leveling experience stuff, that will be rolling out 7.3.5. Going back to Island Expeditions real quick, I forgot to bring up this note, is they talked about the AI for the opposing factions, say
Yes.
I forgot to mention this, because this was actually something that was really interesting.
The mercenaries? Or the adventurers?
Yeah, the adventurers you fight, that you're racing against on the Island Expeditions.
Yep.
Is the advanced AI, that kind of terrifies me, but on the other hand, that's kind of cool if it's actually decent, really decent AI, because it understands it should understand the map objectives. So it is literally racing you to the bosses to collect Azurite and to kill the bosses. If it's given a choice between like fighting you or fighting the boss, it will say it's a rogue. It will sap you or blind you and attack the boss, or it will sap and blind the boss and attack you. Or it'll sap one and blind the other and run the fuck away, go get its buddies, and come back and beat on everybody.
Right.
That is the theory they put out there. Whether or not it will actually work in application, we don't know quite yet.
Well,
but
it won't be the best at start, but I would say probably about 6 to 8 months in, when they've had a lot of playtime and they've had ways to sit and correct it. It'll be, even if it takes toward the end of the expansion, it will be quite a formidable thing, I'm sure. If it works, it will be quite a thing for people to have to work with and work against. So, and again, like you said, so even if you're going in PvE, you're still going to have outside forces that you need to worry about.
Yeah.
So they're doing really good to balance PvE against PvP this time. I just wish they'd hurry up, because they said, oh yeah, you can go in and turn PvP off now.
Well,
yeah, you can, but if you step outside your faction city, you're still flagged.
As of 7.3, they're going to roll that out.
Then I can finally level my character who's been sitting on PvP.
And that's the next thing. Is they also talked about PvP, both world and normal PvP.
They're not having sections, or they're not having server classification anymore.
Yeah, they're removing the server division of PvP and PvE. You're still going to have RP and PvE you're going to still have RP servers and normal servers. But say you have a PvP character, and the only reason why you have a PvP character is because a bunch of your buddies were on this server. So you join them, and you don't.
What happened with me? Yeah.
And you don't want to. And but you really don't like PvP. Well, now you'll be able to go to your home city and turn off PvP and go level. Or if you are on a PvE server and you want more PvP, you can flag yourself in your home city and then go out and go to town. That is something they should have done a long time ago.
Yeah, and like you can do it now, but it only works for
so long. Yeah.
Well, no, it works for faction specific zones.
Yeah.
Like if I turn off PvP on Kithlana, which I am, if I go out of Durotar, or I go to the Ghostlands, or I go to Tristful, then I'm not flagged PvP. But the moment you enter a contested zone,
you're flagged.
You're flagged. So it kind of works, but again, I can't leave to do questing because everything's contested. So it'll be nice to be able to go onto servers, because I know some people who play PvP servers.
Yeah.
I just don't, so I've never even thought to go play with them. Now you can actually branch out and you can do that.
Yeah, especially with cross-realm and cross-server stuff and whatnot. So that really opens up more for the community to be able to interact with each other without these massive, oh, you're PvP, well, I'm going to get fucked over, barriers. That's going to be really nice.
Since all you have to do is go to your faction's hometown, well, when you're a lobby, that's what you do. So before you leave your areas, you will have that option. So that's nice. I just hope to God that they put it out there saying, okay, you're dead. Guess what? You didn't have to die. Here's this little thing up here that we should have told you about 10 levels ago.
Yeah.
They aren't very good at telling people about what they can toggle.
Yeah.
So I hope that they make that.
Anyways. I want to get through
How many hours are we at this now?
We are at 2.5.
We haven't even talked about Classic yet.
We're at. I only want to fucking talk about Classic. Fuck that. No.
We'll talk about Classic later.
No. Here's my basic fucking point. They're gonna roll out Classic servers eventually. Good. Quit whiny, little fucking whiny cunts. I'm tired of hearing about this Classic server bullshit. It's fucking stupid. You know what? There's some motherfuckers out there with some rose-tinted bullshit glasses going, oh, Classic servers, it was the best. No, you really don't remember Classic, you fucking ignorant fucking swine.
I don't think they do, because I've played on some private Classic servers.
Classic was a fucking bitch.
Okay, now we are talking Classic as to what people out in the wild could do. I think Classic with Blizzard actually working on it, now that they know what the bugs were, now that they know, what went wrong and what, I think as far as a gameplay thing, it could be good. It's not going to replace World of Warcraft, obviously.
No. But it's going to be a whole separate subscription fee, guaranteed. Guaranteed it's going to be a whole separate subscription fee.
As long as I would pay $5 or $10 for it.
Yeah, it's probably going to be 15, 20.
And I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pay a full World of Warcraft price subscription for something like that. They want $5. Here.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But I'm not paying $15 for something like that.
I've just gotten a lot of hate build up in my system from all these whiny bitches going, oh, Vanilla was the best. Burning Crusade was the best. It's like, no, they weren't.
Hey, here's the good thing. If they get it and it's affordable, maybe we'll lose 1 million or so people on Warcraft's end, and the servers will be better, and the bitching will be less.
And the great thing is the Chinese botters will be able to... The Chinese botters will be able to come back.
Dupes as far as the eye can see. You thought it was hard getting into the auction house before.
Yeah. So, Classic's making a comeback. Fuck Classic. My official stance on...
I would download it to try it, but that would never replace my main experience.
It took me. I remember leveling my main back in Classic BC era. Took way too long.
Yeah,
And then
that's a mess.
grinding out the gold because my main is my druid that I've had since that time period. Then grinding out the gold to get flight, so I could actually earn my flight form. So I could actually, no.
And keep in mind, you're not, for the first character you do, you're not going to have any hand-me-down stuff. It was 1,000 gold, I think, for Outland
that was
and
for basic flying.
Cold.
For advanced flying in there, it was 5,000 gold.
Well, I'm not talking for advanced flying. I'm talking to fly in the Outlands and fly in.
It was 1,000 gold. It was like, no, I'm sorry, I take that back.
It was 1,000 for cold
1,500.
weather.
It was 1,500 for basic flying in BC. Plus, you had to pay another like 250 gold for the mount.
Yeah, because now you have to get all your mounts again.
Yeah, and it's like, nope.
The only correction, if they make it, the only correction I would ask them to do is make a mount window like they have for mounts and heirlooms and stuff like that.
That would be a smart idea.
If they would make a mount
it will break the classic experience.
Well,
that's
fuck
the
you.
First whine. That will be the first whiny cunts.
Well, make it that you can disable it. But if you have one for pets and mounts, everything else classic if you want. Because keep in mind, the bag space was also very small. You are going to, and you couldn't transmog.
Nope.
So you're all going to look like Picasso threw up on a painting. So.
No, I'm sorry, I can't. Classic, I have good memories, I have bad memories, but Classic belongs where it belongs in the past.
In case all of you are wondering why at this point we have RP servers, it's because you couldn't transmog. So if you put on a set of armor, you were walking around with a target on your back. That's why we made RP servers, is so we could go out in RP clothing and not worry about getting ganked. If you're level 80 and you want to wear, the barbaric loincloth and the calico things so you can go take a dip over somewhere, you just de-leveled yourself by...
a lot.
A shit ton. Those are level 1 grays that you're trading a level 80 armor set for. That's why RP servers existed. You're not going to have that. Well, you may have one RP server.
Yeah.
One normal, one RP, and one PvP. I could see that going.
Yeah, so
But there's so many things they take for granted now that way back then was a real... And you didn't have that little drop down. You didn't have the equipment manager either.
And
you had to put everything in an action bar so you could change everything.
And you had to set up
fun with
macros
that.
and all. Have fun with your...
Jesus, that was and I loved it. I loved the experience. But again, I'm not going to trade World of Warcraft now for Classic. And if they want premium pricing for a membership,
nope.
You know what? I started playing this 20 years ago. I'm 43 years old. I'm mighty patient. I will wait for that subscription to go down before I even think of looking at it.
Yeah.
I would love to start out trying vanilla, but I ain't going to pay $15-20 a month for it.
Yeah. Anyways, that covers the world PvP things. We glanced over that. PvP is getting some updates in the halls and changes. Nothing, unless you actually cared about PvP. That's that.
Neither of us really. The only PvP I'll do Ashran every now and then.
Yeah. And
I like Alterac Valley, but aside from that, I don't PvP very often.
Yeah, I mean, PvP is gonna... I mean, there's gonna be a new... There is some great, interesting things for PvE, especially that new map they're gonna roll out, the Seething Shore.
Yes.
which is a great sounding map. Randomly generated spawning points that you have to control. There's gonna be multiples.
That actually sounds like you can really fall into that one.
Yeah, that one sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's kind of cool. They didn't really talk about too many overhauls to the PvP system as is. But
well, that's something they do so consistently. I mean, it's pretty
Yeah.
much at this point, all they have to say about PvP is, yes, we're still monitoring it. Yes, we still do hot patches. We still make tweaks because we know they've been doing that. They really don't have to. Now, with allied races, then they'll have to do some major stuff because they've got 6 more races to balance.
yeah,
But
that's
just as it is, by itself, that's so automatic now, they don't even need to talk.
with I went kind of light with the dungeon and raids thing because they aren't going to talk too much about the dungeons and raids.
Well, no, they only talked about 3 of them, so there really wasn't anything to talk.
Yeah, well, they
look pretty, but again, like we said at the top of the show, they don't get points for looking pretty.
Yeah. They talked
Everything
about
they do
they talked about a Teldrassil, which is a Zoldari dungeon.
Zandalar.
See, my brain's going. They talked about Freehold, which is a cold Tiras dungeon. They did talk about Old Deer, the containment facility raid. They did mention.
That sounds really interesting.
They did mention, as a important note, a dungeon that even has me curious. Kazan.
Yes.
The Goblin Home. Yeah. Yes. So I'm kind of curious
that would
about
be interesting. I wonder if it's still a Spaceballs theme park.
Who knows? We'll find out. I'm trying to think. What else.
That was one Mel Brooks pun after another. It was fun to love, but
yeah. Oh, and then like the big thing was the new artifact tool is the Heart of Azeroth.
Which we mentioned earlier. That's what Magni's going to give you.
Yep, and that's going to be kind of interesting because that's going to affect. It's going to be an AP system of sorts, where you collect Azurite, which is the lifeblood of Azeroth.
And I love that you don't have to balance that through 3 separate things anymore.
Yeah,
it's just one item because that's what really sank me on this one is. Since it's a role agnostic thing in dungeons now and you can queue as anything.
Yeah.
That pretty much means that you need all 3 of them at least up to, well, for now, up to Concordance 1 to be able to compete with anything. That's a heck of a lot. I've only got 1 character that does it because I just gave up after that. So only having 1 sync for it, I think will make it a lot easier.
But anyways, just so the Heart of Azeroth is a neck piece. The necklace itself will empower head, shoulders, and chest.
That we know of.
Those
were the 3 that were in the picture.
Yeah, that we know of right now. So it's going to be affecting armor, and it's from the looks of it, it's going to be more utility and not like yes, it will affect attack. Like this attack will do this, or this attack could do this. Like for shamans, you could have your chain lightning do an increased damage per target above 3 targets. Or your Thunderbolt ability will, be able to arc between 2 people and do a massive amount of damage, as a theory. Or you can, Astral Shift, so you can absorb more damage, or turn the Ghost Wolf and run away faster.
I have to say, in that panel, the orcish shaman, was really happy to be here. It's like, what?
Shikaka.
If I could go over and kick you all in the nuts right now, I would. But you really gave yourself a pass when you introduced. I can't even remember her name.
No, yeah.
But she's happy to be here, and all of a sudden, hi there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like holding up a kitten. You get a reprieve, a small one.
I did how like they talked about with the Heart of Jara when it won't be as linear as the artifact weapon AP system is. or as randomized stat and ability wise as the Netherlight relic system is, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, getting, if you have three relics that are exactly the same eye level, everything, and you slot them in and look at them, they'll each have different abilities, and that's way too fucking random. When they each all have different abilities, that's a little too random when you are trying to, or if you have one that's, you have two that are exactly the same, except for one's slightly higher eye level, but the lower level one has better abilities for what you're doing compared to the higher level one, but it's like, no, that level of randomization was bullshit.
Yeah. There are quite a few things in the past few expansions I didn't want to lose just because...
Yeah, it was... Yeah.
The stamina, the armor may go up, but everything else...
Yeah.
Either it wasn't much change, or I was actually losing what I wanted.
And they talked about how if you get a chest piece from normal mode of a dungeon, you get the exact same chest piece from the heroic mode, and the exact same piece from mythic mode. Looking at them through the Heart of Azshara enhancement, they all have the exact same abilities. It just the heroic mode will be more powerful than the normal mode, and the mythic mode will be stronger than the heroic mode. So less random, and it gives you a reason to run mythics if you can run mythics, things like that, because you'll just get stronger versions of the exact same gear, which is really cool.
I almost wish when they're doing that, and I understand why they're doing that, but I wish for PvP, not even low-level PvP because it doesn't come into it, but if they have a PvP island or whatever for whatever the hell this expansion is called again, that's how good I'm getting.
Yeah, we really need to end this soon. We're at 2 hours, 45 minutes.
That if you can queue for dungeons for that, you should be able to queue for normal, heroic, or mythic PvP zone. Because, hey, you and I, the guild we're in, or the guilds I'm in, are not the most active. I can't do mythic.
Mm-hmm.
And I like doing heroic with people I know because they're tricky.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm PvPing, I'm most likely going to be in normal gear. And while I may like it, going up against somebody in full mythic...
Yeah.
So when you're statting it up like that, seems a little unfair.
Yeah. Anyway,
so it'd be nice if they had that choice for it too.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting really tired, and we're almost at 3 hours. I've got shit I have to do. I have to work tonight.
Like I said, just cut it off before Warcraft and put Warcraft up, but don't even edit this shit. It would take a month to get through all this.
Anyway.
And you lose all the whatever the hell that word is.
Yeah, anyway, Shikaka.
Thank you.
But anyways, so I'm trying to think of what else was there that they mentioned. But I think we covered all the major talking points, really.
Yeah, the only one I was thinking of before was Island.
Yeah, the Island Expeditions.
The problem is this is still very early, so stuff like writing and all that stuff, the meat and potatoes of this stuff, we won't know for months yet. This is basically, this is the teaser stuff that they gave us, and my God, did we dissect this?
Yeah.
Do we have a PhD after our name? I think some surgeons don't spend as much time on things as we did.
So on that note, I am Shikaka. No. I'm Chaos Infinium. This has been us talking about BlizzCon coverage. You can tell our passion about World of Warcraft and how we need to be taken out back and shot.
This is what happens when nerds get excited.
Yeah, pretty much. You can follow him on Twitter, Raving Rendal, all that fun stuff. You can follow me at all the shit listed below because I'm way too tired to do this spiel right now. I need to take a nap before work. If
you're listening to this on the extraordinarily long podcast, I'm sorry, Scott. Everything under the notes will have all of our respective links.
Yeah. So, with that out of the way, you know what? I hope everyone's had a good day, has had a good weekend, will have a good week. I'm really fucking tired at this point.
And I don't think you're going to have time to sleep either.
I gotta get it. I've got to get an hour nap in. I'm gonna make my call for my ride to work now, so that's already set. I hope everyone's enjoyed it, and if you've made it through, I'm going to post this in probably different ways. Like, there's going to be the normal coverage section that will actually just talk about the opening ceremonies. There will be the WoW coverage section, which is going to be its own video. And then I think I'll probably post as the whole almost 3 hour video as like an unlisted video somewhere, so he can get the audio out of it.
Well, I want the video of this whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying. So he can get the audio out of it.
I'll play it for my mom sometime and say, see, now aren't you glad that you raised me?
Shikaka!
Oh, God.
Yeah, and I hope everyone's
We've gone off the deep end.
We will talk to you all later, and I hope everyone has a good day, and yeah. Bye-bye, everyone.